everyone. Welcome. It's Friday. There's only one place to be when you're in Fort Worth, and you're here. It's the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. Let's get the meeting started. To lead us in our invocation is Jim Austin, owner and president of the Austin Company, jimaustinonline.com. And with the national anthem, Harriet Harrell will be at the keyboard. She's principal of the Harrell Group. Jim.
Good morning, everyone. I've been instructed to only take 2 minutes to give the prayer. So if I go beyond that, somebody ring a bell. Okay, real quick, okay. Thank you, El President. Let us bow our head, please. Things that we're thankful for in life. Those things are your family, close friends, good health, your home, your job, healthy food, your education, your pets, good night's sleep, the seasons, financial savings, weekends, fresh air, transportation, clean water, technology, a good book, art, teachers, modern health care, music, graduations, colors, giving gifts, and also receiving gifts. Amen. Amen.
Seated. Thank you. And now, Matt Jacobs, Director of Transportation for Catholic Charities of Fort Worth. Please help us welcome our visiting Rotarians and guests.
Thank you, President Sean. Good afternoon, everyone. We're blessed today to have an abundance of guests, and we want to thank all of our guests for being here today and joining us, and look forward to you joining us in the future. Have a good day.
We particularly want to thank our sponsors. We have 2 sponsors today. Pastors for Texas Children, Pastor Charlie Johnson, thank you. Pastors and faith leaders of all denominations are joining Pastors for Texas Children to support the quality education of all Texas children. PTC's purpose is to spark a strong grassroots movement committed to standing up for our children, families, and Texas communities. Our second sponsor, Autobahn Fort Worth, and just in time, Brendan Harrington, thank you, Autobahn. Autobahn Fort Worth wants you to love what you drive. With Porsche, BMW, Mini, Volvo, Jaguar, Volkswagen, and Land Rover, there is something for everyone to love. For 40 years, Autobahn has been bringing premier vehicles and services to discerning automobile owners in the DFW area and all over North Texas. Love what you drive. Rotary, of course, is synonymous with the pursuit of the highest ethical standards in both business and personal arenas. Rotary emphasizes integrity, and this is perhaps best epitomized in the 24 words that comprise our well-known 4-way test, traditionally recited at Rotary meetings the world over. Please join me now. 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Okay, now if you thought Tucker Carlson or Don Lemon could ruffle some feathers, they've got nothing on our newscasters, though that's never our intention. So we're here to report the news and nothing but the news. So let's see what we've got. Mitch Reitman, principal with Reitman Consulting Group for our newscast.
Thank you so much for that warm greeting. I feel about as welcome as Ron DeSantis on a gay Disney cruise. First for the weather, it's hot out there. It's so hot that County Judge Tim O'Hare went to see Election Administrator Javier Garcia just to get a cold stare. Judge O'Hare explained that he believes the result of the last countywide election just defies logic. When asked for comment, several Betsy Price supporters said, "No kidding." First for Rotary News. I've been appointed the Emergency Interim Newscast Chairman. It's not easy. This is a tough room. So if you don't like my newscast, sign up. In May, I'm celebrating the 20th anniversary of my first newscast. And since Saturday was Earth Day, I decided to recycle some material from my old newscasts. And if you don't sign up to do it, I got plenty left after this one. So we'll go back to May 2003, my first newscast, and California Governor Gray Davis was recalled, and bodybuilder actor Arnold Schwarzenegger threw his hat in the ring for the October special election. The TV networks broadcast his first campaign speech at 6 p.m. They rebroadcast it in English at 7 p.m. I did the newscast again in April 2004, and the governor had been in office for 6 months. Many voters were questioning his skills. I mean, back then it was unusual for someone with no talent to hold executive office. The LA Times did a man on the street survey and asked if people thought he was qualified. They interviewed 23-year-old semi-professional skateboarder Donnie Meeks, who replied, "I think he's qualified. Besides, back in the 70s, when he was Mr. Universe, he was in charge of the whole world." In 2004, I was driving to the Rotary meeting, and the big news on the radio was that Barbie and Ken were getting divorced. I pulled up my BlackBerry and found this news release from Mattel. It was to the tune of the Barbie theme song. Barbie told Ken to move out of the dream house. She said, "I liked him as a boyfriend, but not as a spouse." She said, "I really liked his sweaters and his neatly combed hair, but after 40 long years, something just wasn't there." That's when the therapist told him that their marriage is a failure because Barbie and Ken have no genitalia. Fast forward to 2005, I did the January newscast, and Brokeback Mountain was released the same week as the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. I said, "We're finally having stock show weather. There's rain in the forecast, and it's cold." It's so cold that the rodeo, even the straight cowboys are snuggling with each other. Bo Schembechler, Tom Grieve, and Jim Sumber were the Texas Rangers were our guests that week. The Rangers had just offered Roger Clemens $12 million to pitch for them the next year. I told my fellow Rotarians, if the Rocket accepts the offer, there'll be a spring training next month. Of course, pending a physical, at which he'd have his head examined. Funnier back then, I guess. Some Rotarians thought I was a little hard on our guests, so I did the newscast again in October, and as many times I've done, I apologized. But I even pointed out that I'd taken my son, then 5-year-old son, to FanFest and bought him a Rangers jersey. I knew it was an official jersey because in August, it came apart at the seams. Fast forward to 2010, and the Rangers were in the World Series. The first game was that night. I reported it was the biggest night in Texas Rangers history. Presidents George Bush Sr. and George Bush Jr. would be there. Nolan Ryan and Jim Sumberg would be there, and even Tony Romo was coming by to throw out the first interception. And finally, that same newscast, I reported that the Chilean coal miners have been rescued. They've been trapped underground, 2,000 feet below ground since July, nearly 3 months. So I put that in perspective. They've been down there so long, they still thought the Cowboys had a chance to go into the Super Bowl. And the weather this weekend, or this afternoon, cloudy, stormy, and cold. But don't be sad about that, because if it wasn't for the weather, I could never end the newscast.
All right, there you have it, all the news you never wanted to know. As we celebrate our 110th year this year, we've been taking a look back at pivotal moments within our club history. And if we have been in existence for 110 years, then for 110 years, we know we've seen the same 3 or 4 items that have been a central point of discussion: programs, parking, and the cost of lunch. Intermittently, meeting location has been another critical factor. There's some slides coming up. The birthplace of Rotary Club of Fort Worth was the Westbrook Hotel. On February 24th, 1913, the 12 founders, headed by J.E. Mitchell, held their first planning session with Lewin Plunkett, the president of the 2-year-old Dallas Club. The hotel stood at Main and Houston between 3rd and 4th, where the Chisholm Trail mural is now. It was built in 1911, replacing several other hotels that had filled the block from the late 1800s. The Westbrook lasted for 68 years until it was imploded in 1978. But as a chartered club, the very first actual Rotary meeting was held at the Siebold Hotel on June 28, 2013, with 23 members present and Jake Zern elected president. The Fort Worth University Medical School at 7th and Rusk, shown here, became the Siebold Hotel in 1908, presumably with additional floor added, but lost to time. But during the first year that followed, under President Jake Zern, the club usually met at the Metropolitan Hotel, which is on the next slide, at Main and 9th, every Friday at 12:15. The Metropolitan stood where the JFK statue is now, across from the Texas Hotel. Built in 1889, all the rooms had hot water and a window, and it had a separate ladies' entrance with green Georgia marble. However, it later went into decline with the Blackstone and Hotel Texas, when the Blackstone and Hotel Texas were built. The Hotel Texas is shown in the photo, and of course, that's today's Hilton. By 1959, the Metropolitan was torn down and in fact became a parking lot for the Hotel Texas. In November of 1917, there was a directors meeting at the Metropolitan Hotel taking up the exorbitant price of lunch, 75 cents per plate. A committee was appointed to talk to management, review nearby options, and report back on the double. But in the early days, meetings were held at various hotels: the Westbrook, Siebold, Metropolitan, and also the Worth and Court hotels, eventually moving to the Texas Hotel, or Hilton, also. The Worth Hotel is shown back in 1905. Now, after a decade, in 1923, the first temporary club headquarters was opened at 103.5 West 6th Street, across from what is now Halton's Jewelers. At the time, it was the Knights of Pythias Hall building, and multiple Rotarians were members. Then 5 years later, in 1928, they moved their offices to the Texas Hotel, and that's where they were for the next multiple decades. The hotel had been built in 1921. For the next 40 years, the Texas Hotel was our meeting place and headquarters location. It's interesting to note that in the 1959-1960 period, for the first time, the Fort Worth Club was used for club meetings when the Crystal Ballroom at the Hotel Texas was busy, while they were also constructing the new Grand Ballroom. Then came change. In 1979, Paul Stevens, who you see there, he was our club president, and he was the founding executive of Southern Baptist Radio and Television Commission, and a truly prominent national and even international figure. And he tells it like this: I didn't know at the time the dark fate that lay before me, namely the closing of the Texas Hotel and the move of the offices of our club and its meetings to the Black Pit of Calcutta, the stone in the throat of all who even today live and move and make their living downtown, the Blackstone Hotel. The Blackstone is now the Downtown Courtyard by Marriott. He continues, I am under the impression that I presided 1 or 2 times at the Texas before we moved. Nevertheless, we entered into a very painful, inauspicious, image-destructive period. A desperate search committee was at work, coming up with suggestions that we consider the First United Methodist Church as a substitute, or Convention Hall, or Broadway Baptist Church. Lost in the Blackstone, a fate worse than death. Finding our dining room was no small accomplishment in itself, and after a while, you began to hope you wouldn't. A game of cockroach polo could break out on top of your lunch table at any moment. Keeping track of the scores and money changing hands with Louis Home laying off most of the bets caused enough diversion from the quality of the food as to make lunchtime pass more quickly. A highly desirable goal, believe you me. To our rescue and to my eternal reward, enough strong members, led by J.C. Pace, persuaded the venerable Fort Worth Club to open its gracious doors to us, and the move was consummated. If that sounds something like a wedding, perhaps it was. We've lived happily ever after. One more thought. Though we had 59 new members join during that dreadful year, we ended up with only one total gain. You had to be there to appreciate the sense of triumph we experienced to survive. So from the towers of the historic Texas Hotel, through the valley of the Blackstone, and into the gracious halls of the noble Fort Worth Club, a journey of 1,000 miles and only 6 months, and they gained one member in spite of it all. So there's our fun tale for today. A few other announcements. The district conference is coming up Friday, May 19th and 20th. That technically runs Thursday through Sunday. It's at the Crazy Water Hotel in Mineral Wells. This is a retrospective look at the past Rotary year with club awards and a celebration by the outgoing District Governor Dan Steele. Family activities and dinner galas are included, and if any of you would care to join, keep an eye on the rotograph. Speaking of district conferences, Rotary District 5890 from Houston is meeting in Fort Worth as we speak. They arrived yesterday. They're at the downtown Hilton. They had a golf tournament yesterday, Billy Bob's last night. There's about 250 of them, and they're on the loose tonight. They're free. They have a free evening, so you might see them wherever you go. And Carlo had a chance to go over and see them earlier this morning and say hello, and I've also been in touch with District Governor Mindy Snyder. Finally, we are invited to attend the Rotary Club of Arlington's 100th anniversary gala at UT Arlington's Blue Bonnet Ballroom on Saturday evening, June 10th, with a 5:30 reception and a 6 p.m. dinner. Again, watch for the rotograph, or you can check out the Arlington Club's website to buy your ticket. And now, we're going to hear about another type of Rotary visit. Ann Sheets, retired CEO and president of Campfire Texas, just came back from Chicago.
Do you remember being in the 5th grade, coming back from summer vacation, and your teacher had you write an essay about what I did on my summer vacation? Well, I feel a little bit like that, so be kind. I was in Chicago a couple of weeks ago and had the opportunity to tour Rotary headquarters. They're actually in Evanston, which is just north of Chicago, and outside of the headquarters is a wonderful statue called Polio Plus, which is designed by a Texas sculptor. One Rotary Center is a lovely skyscraper in Evanston, and once inside, you see Rotary in action in an exhibit that highlights the work Rotary does locally and internationally. Our tour then took us to a replica of room 711 from the Unity Building in Chicago, where in Gustavus Lohr's office, Rotary was founded. We were reminded that it was just 4 men who on February 23rd, 1905, gathered in Lohr's office for what would become known as the first Rotary Club meeting. Paul Harris' desire for camaraderie among business associates brought them together, these 4 men, and eventually led to an international organization of service and fellowship. Room 711 is a replica of the room where it all began, and I had the chance to sit down at the table with a couple of Rotarians from New York State who were along for the tour. And what would a tour of Rotary be without a chance to shake the hand of Paul Harris? He's a man of few words, and I hate to say it, but a little stiff, but he's ready to shake anybody's hand. We also saw the Rotary International Boardroom, complete with the space for interpreters who can translate board meetings into whatever languages are necessary. It's very impressive. Also on display, the Centenary Bell produced for Rotary's 100th anniversary and commissioned by a Rotary Club in Italy. While on that floor, we saw not only the current International President's office, but had a chance to be photographed with the President-elect, Gordon McAnally from Scotland. He's kind of got a big head, but, you know, he is the President-elect. Throughout the tour, there were stories of the impact that Rotary makes, whether in eradicating polio, providing water, or any of the hundreds of other projects carried on by Rotarians throughout the world, as well as our local communities. Rotary now has over 1.4 million members in over 46,000 clubs in 161 countries, represented by their flags. When we say international, Rotary means it. Our tour ended with a reminder of Rotary's vision. Seeing the bigger picture of Rotary was a great experience, and the next time you're in the Chicago area, I urge you to take a tour of One Rotary Center and shake hands with Paul Harris.
There you go. That's what all good Rotarians do on vacation. Now, past President Courtney Lewis, EVP Cadence Bank, she's going to give us a crazy pants update. While she's making her way, on your tabletop, you'll see some beautiful flyers. So for those that golf and those that don't, pay attention.
Okay, so I have 3 reasons for you to attend the Crazy Pants Open this year. 1, we're bringing back the Long Drive exhibition, and we're returning to the Ridgely South course. Andy, you'll be there, right? Yes, Andy, you will be there. 2, D&M Commercial Leasing is hosting a hole-in-one competition, and they are giving away a car. So come and try your luck at winning a car. And 3, if you're not a golfer, not a problem. We'll have a fellowship ticket. You can come and join the golfers after golf. Date is May 16th. Place, Ridgely South Course. Lunch will be served at 11:30, 1 o'clock start. The golf party will start 5:45 to 6-ish. It'll be after, depending on how quickly our golfers play and get done. Team of 4 is $1,000. Single golfer is $300. The fellowship ticket is only $50. Scan the QR code on your table or on the screen, or come see us at the back after the meeting. Hope to see you there.
Thank you, and thank you, James Emmons and our Crazy Pants Committee. They've been working hard, and hopefully we'll see you all there. Second readings, Kathy Sheffield, Chief Advancement Officer of Lena Pope, and our club secretary.
Thank you, President Sean. We have 4 second readings today. The following proposed new members were submitted during the April 14th, 2023 program. If no objections are received through the voting process, the proposed member will be accepted into our club. The first proposed member is Adolph Aguilar. His title is Executive Director, Company American Red Cross DFW Metro West. His classification, nonprofit, public health and safety. Proposer, past President Jim Whitten. I move his election, subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
All in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it, and he's hereby elected. Welcome.
The second proposed new member is Terrence Butler. His title is Director of Development. The company is Academy 4. His classification is nonprofit education. His proposer is Victor Neal. I move his election, subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Terrence Butler, welcome.
The third proposed new member is Ruth Marquez. Her title is President and CEO, Company 8 at 8 Soiree LLC. Classification, event planning. Proposer, Akua Anyanfal. I can never pronounce her last name. Akua, I'm sorry. Where is Akua? Anyanfal. I pronounced it perfectly when you see her. I move her election, subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Well, welcome Ruth Marquez. The ayes have it.
And our final new proposed member is Tejas Rain. His title is VP of Innovation and Integration. His company is Tarrant Area Food Bank. His classification is nonprofit food bank. Proposer Jared Williams. I move his election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Welcome, Mr. Rain? Rain. That's it. Thank you. We do have several blue badge presentations, or actually, what do I have? Hold on, we have a new member introduction first. Deanna Stewart with proposer Betty Harvey. Please join me on stage.
Thank you, President Sean. Hi, everybody. What a great room full of people today. And very interesting, because not only am I introducing Deanna from here, you all got to meet her when you came in today, because she started her service above South with greeting everybody today. So a little bit of history on Deanna. She grew up in the suburbs, Naperville of Chicago. Although she's been in Texas since 2004, she's still a Cubs, Bears, and Blackhawks fan. So we got to work with her. She graduated from Augustana College in Rock Island, Illinois, with a BA in psychology and sociology. Deanna was the first of 4 siblings to attend and graduate from Augustana College. All 4 went there. Imagine that. Since moving to Texas, Deanna has lived in Austin, Colleyville, Bedford, and for the past 10 years, Fort Worth. She lives in a 107-year-old home in Fairmont, which she calls the Blue Bungalow. Deanna is involved in near Southside community. She has worked in the corporate and retail world and has held an officer position on several nonprofit boards and her church. Currently, Deanna is Vice President of Philanthropy with Cancer Care Services, a 77-year-old nonprofit. She has been part of this nonprofit organization for 10 years. Her why for working for Cancer Care is because she has a solid commitment to making things better, and her mission with Cancer Care is personal to her. You can ask her about that. Her drive for philanthropy comes directly from her parents. She grew up in the service above self environment. Her dad was a Rotarian for 40 years. His meetings were every Thursday, and she recalls him finding a local Rotary meeting even on vacations. Most weekends, you can find Diana at a local live music festival or venue. She loves Texas singers and songwriters, digging in her multiple flower gardens, and enjoying some wonderful wine with her family or friends. Deanna considers her greatest accomplishment to be her 3 grown children and the fact that they like to hang out with her. Designated family dinner is always a priority each month, and live music events as well. Deanna is also Dee, and as she will tell you, to the most amazing 4- and 7-year-old little boys. Her Dee adventures overnight for each of the boys are requested often. Friends give honest, sincere advice, and they challenge each other to meet their highest good. I have been the recipient of this friendship and a witness to her fellowship mindset. Please welcome and get to know Deanna Stewart.
Well, thank you all very much. I have a lot of friends in this room, and especially this one standing next to me has been a longtime friend, and I appreciate her very much. I look forward to digging in to Rotary and doing whatever needs to be done here. When I was asked to give a little fun fact about myself, I asked my kids this question, and I got sort of crazy answers, like your youngest is your favorite, and you don't like peanut butter, and that's weird. So but if I'm not at my Blue Bungalow drinking wine on the porch or at Cancer Care Services, I am throwing pottery. I'm in front of a pottery wheel at Garrett Pendergrass Pottery in the near south side. I've been doing it for years. I used to own my own pottery wheel. I love it. It is therapy to me. I will be there this afternoon, and tomorrow we're gonna play with fire and do some raku firing at the pottery studio. So if you're looking for me, I might be there. Looking forward to knowing all of you. I know so many of you as friends, and looking forward to having more friends. So Thank you very much.
And now, our chairman of the day, John Fletcher, President and CEO, Fletcher Consulting Public Relations for our program.
First of all, Jim, and when you were in the prayer, you were thanking for things you didn't mention, HEB and Central Market, that we're thankful for. So let's say it's a hard job to schedule today's speaker. Well, we've been looking to get him for over 4 years. Delighted to say that here we are. He worked himself from stocking and checking at HEB grocery stores to earn his position. I first met him when he was district manager in Waco, but more than a couple of years ago. Among the leadership positions he's held in the family grocery business have been vice president of grocery marketing and president of HEB's own brand or private label products. Here's a shocker: under his leadership, HEB's private label ice cream, Creamy Creations, consistently beats Bluebell in taste tests. A great tribute. Our speaker knows what he's talking about, and that led him to become Central Market's president, which we have here in Fort Worth, in Southlake, in Houston, San Antonio, and Austin, and in that town that begins with the letter D to the east of us. We don't use that word, Stephen. He does more than lead America's most revered gourmet grocery chain. He's on the boards of the Amon Carter Museum of American Art, UT Southwestern's Medical Foundation, his alma mater, Trinity University, the HEB Foundation, and of course, HEB Grocery. He wields tremendous influence on Central Market being our favorite grocery store, and he's helped drive decisions for HEB's growth here in the Fort Worth, Dallas area. Please welcome the president of Central Market and a great friend of Fort Worth, Stephen Butt.
John, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I can see that the distinguished Rotary Club of Fort Worth is a rowdy group and used to having a good time. So I'll try to keep pace with this. You know, I was a Rotarian in San Antonio in the late 80s and early 90s. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a radio voice, and he would do the news, and it was very proper, and he would, you know, sign on with his big radio voice. But Mitch, I'll say you add a lot more color to the news in the Fort Worth Rotary, sir. Well done, and I appreciate that. There's some folks in San Antonio could take a lesson from you. You know, Susan and I moved from San Antonio to Dallas and Fort Worth in 1999, and we lived in Dallas for a while. In 2011, we decided it's time to move to Fort Worth, where we knew all the good people and we had all the fun things that we did. So I was excited because, as a kind of a frustrated drugstore cowboy, I said, you know, I get to wear my boots, I get to wear my hats and other things. So I brought my cowboy hats, and I found Joe Peters at Peters Hats, and I took these are some hats I'd had made years ago, like in New Mexico and Santa Fe, Albuquerque, whatever, and took them in. I said, Joe, I want to get these hats, you know, duded up, and can you help me? And Joe was very, very nice. Many of you, I'm sure, know him, remember him, and could not have been a nicer man. And he looked at my hats and he says, you know, Steve, these are nice hats. They're kind of California style hats. And, you know, I just want you to know that if you wear these hats here, people will know you're not from Fort Worth. And I said, God, Joe, that's not good. You know, it's not. So I was pleased. He made me a cattleman style Fort Worth hat. I wear it to the stock show every year, and I'll never forget that, because that was my way of getting introduced to Fort Worth, and we certainly wanted to be part of this great community. So my thanks to Sean and to John for their invitation. And what I'd like to do today is just share with you a little bit about our company. And I brought some slides. We can go through those. We'll go through them quickly, and then I'm happy, John, to take questions. And I know how this works. I'll go, and when you guys start walking out, then I'll know we're done. And we'll finish that way. But Sean, thank you so much for your leadership and for having us here and giving me an opportunity to talk about, you know, a topic that's very important to me and to our family. And good to know that there's so many people and so many friends in the audience with us today. So let's get started. Our business was started by Florence Butt, 1905. I think I understand Rotary started in Chicago in 1905, and I really appreciate Sean's comments and respecting the history of the club, because I think we as a company and Fort Worth as a community share that in common. We respect our history, we respect our traditions. But my great-grandmother, at a time when women could not yet vote, she had an ill husband, C.C. Butt. He was ill with tuberculosis. She had 3 young children. They lived in Tennessee at that time, and she moved her family to Central Texas, where the air, dry air, was to be good for the treatment of tuberculosis, and they landed in Kerrville, Texas. She moved the family into a small 2-story frame house. She only had $60 to her name at the time, but her plan was to open a small grocery store in the ground floor, and the family would live above that. Our family story is that when she was cleaning out the small store to prepare the first floor to prepare her store, she came across a Bible, and she is known to have said, this is a good sign. She was a devout Baptist. She worked hard to serve people that had less than she did. She gave away money to help the community even when she did not have much to give away. And I think our company's reputation for philanthropy goes back and is really born in the traditions of Florence Butt, who was our founder. Today, our company is 145,000 partners with 420 stores and serving customers in Texas and Mexico. We're pleased that 120,000 of our partners, as we call the people who make up the company, are now owners of HEB. In 2015, the long vision for Charles was that the partners who build and operate in the company would become owners of the business, so 11% of our company now is owned by 120,000 partner employees who work in HEB. We're a multi-format retailer, and as many of you are familiar with our different formats, obviously our HEB food drug stores that I'll talk about shortly are kind of the flagship of our company, but we're also known for having created very diverse and innovative other formats. And one of these, Mi Tienda, we have 2 locations in Houston. The business is totally conducted in Spanish by employees who may be first or second generation from Mexico. Jovi's Smart Shop, extremely low-cost operation, low prices, high-quality fresh perishables for communities to whom saving pennies on their dollar for their grocery purchases is very, very important. Jovi's offers extremely low prices and excellent fresh quality products for customers to whom that's very important. Many of you, I hope, are familiar with our Central Market stores, where we opened at I-30 in Hewlin in 2001. Really an important day for Susan and I, our family. HEB's first store in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex was right here in Fort Worth, and we've got a great team there, and Austin Jurdy is doing a great job for us there, and thank you for your support for that store. The Houston market is where we operate all of these banners, and our hope would be that a day in the future, we'll operate all of these formats also in Dallas-Fort Worth and in Tarrant County to serve the great people in the room today. We became, 5 years ago, an omni-channel retailer. We now have 11% of our business is done through curbside pickup or home delivery. And digital shopping is obviously very, very important to everybody here, and how you and your families not only buy your groceries, but how you do other retail purchases. And HEB that's a significant part of our business as we move forward. We operate 13 manufacturing plants, milk, dairy, ice cream, 2 bakeries, meat processing, floral distribution center, et cetera. And that's a big part of our the jobs that we provide to the Texas economy. I think John mentioned Texans like and buy a lot of ice cream. So let me tell you, we sell not only 1905 Creamy Creations, all of our HEB branded ice cream. We work very, very hard to create the quality and the flavors, but also fresh made tortillas. Let's see what we got here. Oops, we're stuck. There we go. Okay. So 59 million dozen tortillas each year. That's a lot of tortillas, guys. And never thought a tortilla would become an iconic product, but at HEB, it's a big deal. and people travel from all over. They ship our tortillas out of state, and I'm confident many of you here are familiar why, but that's a big part of our business. We operate 20 distribution centers, also a very important part of our network as we ship groceries all across the state and into Mexico. And a really important part of our company is our driver population. The spirit of HEB drivers is unmatched. They drive 63 million miles a year. Once a year, we celebrate drivers that join what we call our Million Mile Club. To do that, you have to drive safely 1 million miles. And when I say safely, that means if you back a trailer out of a yard and you hit a post and break a reflector, that counts as an accident. So these drivers, we have 67 million mile drivers, a smaller number, probably 20 or so, 2 million mile. We've also got 7 or 8 3 million mile drivers. And this past year, we had our second 4 million mile driver in the company, Safe Miles, driving our HEB trucks across the highways of Texas, trying to be good citizens on the roadway. And we all know that becomes an increasingly challenging thing to do, as we're all familiar. Based on Florence's, the principles and values that she built in, began our company with, and then my grandfather, H.E. Butt Sr., Charles Butt today, have helped really build the model company values that HEB is known for, our mission and our purpose, to help our customers with lowest prices and best products so they can help their families, provide for their families, that our partners receive strong pay and benefits and careers to help them care for their families, and that we then give back to the communities that we serve and support so that those communities can be stronger, healthy communities for all of us. These are the principles that we have tried to uphold ourselves to. We give 5% of our pre-tax earnings back into the communities where we operate under these various headings. And those are, while we don't limit ourselves to these, we try to target our giving back into the communities under these umbrellas. And I know from the many nice people I talked to before lunch today, you see the evidence of that here in Fort Worth and Tarrant County. Following Hurricane Katrina and Ike, hurricane disaster relief has always been an important part of our business. I remember in Corpus Christi growing up with my grandfather, Carla, Celia, the big hurricanes would come in, and immediately he would have trailers of water just brought to the stores. And we would just pass out gallons of water to people that needed it at that time. Over the years, we became stronger at hurricane and disaster relief, but it was really after Katrina and Ike that we learned that there are two things need to happen. Customers need us to get our stores reopened again quickly because they need the products that we offer. And we learned that it's good for our business because we will advance our relationship with our customers if they know that they can count on us and count on us getting open again quickly. That now has been extended into the fires down in Bastrop, or we lost a store in Dallas, the Central Market at Preston Royal, to a tornado several years ago. So we've gotten very good at emergency disaster relief, and a lot of that is our mobile kitchens, which also are an important part of our relief efforts. Charles has been for many years a champion of public education. It's something he takes on. The business has supported that work. He also does this a lot through his own charitable philanthropy. But public education and celebrating teachers and providing good classroom experience is an important part of HEB and what we hope to bring to our communities. We have a very strong relationship with Julie Butner and the Tarrant Area Food Bank. Bo Soderberg before her, they do important work, and hunger relief is an important part of our mission, given the important link we play in the food chain to the communities where we operate. We have had what we call our Feast of Sharing. Many of you here may be familiar. We've done this at the Will Rogers Coliseum. We serve a holiday meal, volunteers, many volunteers from churches come. Charles's vision has been we want to provide a hot holiday meal to families to whom cannot afford that, but we wanted to do it with the highest level of dignity. So there's no soup line approach. This is, you're sit down, you're treated with the highest respect. Volunteers serve the meals, And we've done that at the Will Rogers Coliseum, 7, 8, 9,000 meals each year, now moved over to Dickey's Arena, which is really providing a great resource. But we do 48 of these dinners across the state at the holiday time. We're a company that is committed to celebrating diversity. We believe that it's the differences in people are an important part of being on the planet together and sharing our communities and living together. So we celebrate diversity within our business. And I want to take just a moment here to make a special acknowledgement for the Uvalde Moving Forward initiative to build the new school for the community and students in Uvalde. And the city of Fort Worth has really stepped up and played a significant role. I talked to Charlie Kleins, who is really Charles's point person on this. They've created the board for the Uvalde Moving Forward. I think former State Senator Beverly Powell is an important member of that board. But Chris Huckabee and the Huckabee Group have provided all the plans pro bono, free of charge. If you haven't heard of that, you should know of that. The Rainwater Foundation has stepped up with a significant gift, as well as the North Texas Community Foundation and the Morris Foundation. So I know that this group will want to know, with your Rotary commitment to service, that your community in Fort Worth is really stepping up to help us and help others build a new school for a community in Uvalde that really needs it so badly. So these are the things that we feel create the spirit of HEB, which is we refer to as our secret sauce. You know, what makes us tick as a company. These are the things that we stand for. I'd like to share with you exciting news that after serving Tarrant County and Dallas County and Collin County with Central Market for 20 years, we have now gotten around to bringing our flagship HEB brand to North Texas. That started. We've gotten off to a big start in Frisco and Plano. The welcome has been just overwhelming. We are really grateful for that. Our teams are working very hard. When Carlos Rook is an officer of HEB who's leading these teams, they're working very hard, hiring a lot of new people, training them in the HEB way. Our next stores will open in McKinney and Allen, coming up in just a few months later this summer. And I know you're excited for the Alliance Town Center location, which will be North Tarrant County, followed by Mansfield, our 2 new HEBs to serve Tarrant County in those locations, and they will be opening in 2024. You know, and I want to say, you know, for all of my friends here in Fort Worth, they say, hey, Stephen, you know, we're like excited for Alliance Town Center. That's really nice. You appreciate that. You know, you're like barely in Fort Worth. So I got to educate our group. I say, hey, you know, you can't really say we're coming to Fort Worth when you're going to Alliance. You need to clarify that, because all my friends on the west side are going to be throwing eggs in my yard. And, you know, let's get clear on that. We are looking for, I think, some future locations. We hope to have a little bit more in the central part of the city, but until then, we're going to get off to a big start with these new locations that are coming. I like this particular quote from our president, Craig Boyan: partners working together to make life better for our partners, customers, and communities, because at HEB, each and every person counts, and we believe that is true. A little bit closer to home, pleased that 20 years ago, we opened Central Market at I-30 in Hewlin. This format got its start in 1994 in North Lamar. We had a great piece of property. Charles wanted a different type of store. The community wanted a different type of store. The store that wouldn't sell Coke and Tide and all the other common products, but that would really be totally committed to providing the best in food. And we did that with that first store. We now operate 10 locations across Texas, as John mentioned, and great teams. A few years ago, we had no idea this was being done, but Consumer Reports, they surveyed all across the country, supermarkets, just all kinds of brands, all kinds of supermarkets. We were so happy to see that Central Market was rated #1 by the customers who know our stores as the greatest place for them to shop. And it takes a lot of people to make that possible. It is a destination format. Customers drive up to 25 miles to come to Central Market. They don't necessarily shop us every week, but they shop us every time they're looking for the best in fresh and specialty foods. Pleased for your Fort Worth location to be featured here among our other 10 locations across the state. Each store has its own unique style and personality, depending on the communities where we operate and just the heart and the soul of the communities where we run these stores. They're reflected in each of our central markets, and I'm pleased that they each have their own unique feel for those communities. It is the people or the lifeblood of our business. They're what makes it all possible, and we've got a great group here with Austin Jurdy and the Fort Worth Central Market team, as well as Houston, San Antonio, Austin, and Dallas, and elsewhere. So that's going to wrap up my comments. I'm happy, John, to answer any questions that the group may have in the time we've got remaining. I will say before we're done, Austin Jurdy said, anybody, find him. If you go find him at Fort Worth Central Market, tell him you heard me speak at the Rotary Club. He's going to give you a free box of chocolate truffles. So that's Austin's way, shamelessly promoting. You don't have to bring anything. Just tell him you heard me make some comments, and that hopefully I didn't go on too long. He'll give you some truffles. But John, I'm happy. Whatever time we have left, I'm happy to answer questions for the group.
Stephen, when y'all are choosing which locations to open or to announce next, what are 2 or 3 of the criteria that go into that?
I think we, obviously, our real estate purchases, John, are very, very important because you're looking for future growth. You're looking for the demographics. And I think what I would comment on the formats that we've developed is that over time, like if you were to go to San Antonio, before we had these other formats, you would see that a north side San Antonio, east side, west side, they're all tailored differently because the community, you think about a meat department, different communities buy different type of proteins. And they want to cook, they want to have what they're looking for. And so we learned over time that tailoring, the meat department is just a good, probably clear example. That tailoring those departments to the needs of the community really helped our business. We served our customers better, they liked the stores better. So that's really what's led us to develop over time different formats. And we felt at the time for Central Market, there really wasn't a store that stood for the best the world had to offer. And that's what we started doing almost 30 years ago. Joe V's, there are parts of the communities that we want to serve where you have to have a very, very low cost, a different productivity model, and very, very low prices for these customers. So that's really what's caused us to develop multiple brands and to become a multi-format retailer, just trying to serve, because Texas is a very diverse state. But you look for, to your question, look for growth, demographics, the fit, and then we determine what type of store would fit that location the best. Obviously, our H-E-B stores are used, they're shopped by customers weekly, every week. We full service stores, pharmacy, drugstore, non-food products. Central Market, we focus more on food. We don't have as much non-food. We don't have the pharmacy, so it's not less of a one-stop shop. So people use it more for a destination shop. But it just has to do with the demographics and what store would fit their best. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just wanted to mention to you that we do have room for a grocer to be a member of our club.
Nice, very nice. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Category is still open? Yeah. Thank you.
And I'd say after your presentation that service above self would fit right in. Yes.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Can you talk a little more about the money you guys put into education, and specifically the Fort Center? What they're doing is truly amazing and changing our education system.
Thank you for asking, because maybe not everybody's familiar with that. Charles has been, and he would say it's his mother's, our grandmother's, she was a public school teacher. It was her teaching led him to believe, where did he want to put his philanthropic efforts to really help make Texas a better state. And he picked public education. I'm guessing 25 years ago, he started working on it. So he's done a number of different things, but first he created Raise Your Hand Texas, which is I don't want to say politically, they're not politically active or motivated. What they do is whoever gets elected when the legislature's in session, they're working to be sure that the needs of the public schools are supported and advanced through the legislative process. They don't try to influence who gets elected. The communities elect their people, but once they're in Austin, we want them supporting public education. So that is the first thing. Then the Holsworth Center you mentioned has more recently, I would say, the vision of it maybe began 10 years ago. He began to hire a team. This is focused at strengthening leadership in public schools. And I'll miss some parts here, but it fundamentally works. They have public school districts would apply to the Holsworth program. Then the school district makes a commitment. It's a multi-year commitment of time. 3 years they work. 3 years they work with Holsworth on site. Then 3 years Holsworth works in the field in the districts. But the district has to make a commitment for a multi-year. Their superintendent, their trustees, other key administrative staff. But the purpose is to strengthen the leadership of the public school districts at the district level. So I think a cohort, I think they're in their third or fourth cohort. A cohort is 5 or 6 districts. I know Arlington has participated, DISD is participating, Katy, I couldn't name them all, but I'd say 3 years in, they have probably 15 school districts that they're working with, and they've now opened their campus in Austin, which is on Lake Austin, 22 acres, beautiful property, a beautiful campus that's built with facilities where they can bring in the school districts on site to do training with them in groups and working with other school districts. So it's a great campus that they've opened. And that's been operating now about 1.5 years. So thank you for that. But Holsworth is a leadership push to help public school districts get stronger. Raise Your Hand Texas tries to ensure that the legal environment is protective of public schools. And that's been a mission for Charles and the company for many years. Thank you for that. Sean is here. This means we're wrapping up. The president just came up. We're about to be done. Thank you all.
Please stay right here. I know I'm speaking for all of us in the room. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and what an amazing legacy, Florence Butt, 118 years later. And I will say that all 420 stores must be an adventure. I even have a college kid who had been an Aggie, and she loved going to the H-E-B grocery store. That was one of her favorite things to do. I relate to that at Central Market. It is a tradition of the Rotary Club of Fort Worth that we give a donation in the name of each program speaker, and these days we're doing it with the Polio Plus Fund to eradicate polio. Thank you. And in this bag is a memento of that donation and your visit today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you so much.
And now let me once again thank our 2 sponsors, Pastors for Texas Children, Charlie Johnson. Pastors and faith leaders of all denominations are joining Pastors for Texas Children to support the quality education of all Texas children. PTC's purpose is to spark a strong grassroots movement committed to standing up for our children, families, and Texas communities. Next, Autobahn Fort Worth, Brendan Harrington. Autobahn Fort Worth wants you to love what you drive. With Porsche, BMW, Mini, Volvo, Jaguar, Volkswagen, and Land Rover, there is something for everyone to love. For 40 years, Autobahn has been bringing premier vehicles and services to discerning automobile owners in the DFW area and all over North Texas. Love what you drive. Thank you, Brendan. If you would like to be a program sponsor, contact Tran Trong or Mark Maurer. There is a board of directors meeting in the Imperial Room right after the meeting, 12th floor. Next week, at some point, if you live long enough, and you have some worthwhile accomplishments, and better yet, if you have a colorful personality, you start to become a legend. And next week, we have legendary businessman, politician, state senator, US congressman, and longtime chancellor of Texas Tech, now Chancellor Emeritus, Kent R. Hance. He's worked with multiple American presidents, and he's a great storyteller. You don't want to miss this. And as we do each week, and in recognition of Rotary International's dedication to peace, conflict prevention and resolution as one of its 7 areas of focus, let's conclude this meeting in the spirit of peace building, reflecting upon these words by an American author, Ken Keyes, who focused on personal growth. He tells us, a loving person lives in a loving world. A hostile person lives in a hostile world. Everyone you meet is your mirror. Choose to reflect the light. And this meeting is adjourned. I'll see you next week.